probably ancient relics. You have so many different areas. You can't control the lights. You can't do anything. So they built that massive cathedral so that the cinematographer who did Last Emperor, Apocalypse Now, Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Last Tango in Paris, Dick Tracy, Vittorio Storaro could light it all to his any whim.
Right.
Imagine being in that set, dude.
Is known for not cutting corners when it comes to production value.
No, yeah, no
right,
corners
look at how
were cut.
When he did Superman, he kept going over budget, and he kept saying, "Yeah, but that's what we got to do."
Exactly. Yeah. I want this to look good, and so you're watching this, and the outfits, the set dressing, the production design. The poor guy who did the production design on this, though, he got a little pigeonholed, because you're gonna love this. He went on to do Last of the Mohicans. He did the TV show Black Sails. Now get this. This is why I think you picked this. He did Reign of Fire and the 13th Warrior, which are two more of our podcasts that you and I have done.
Yes.
So now I'm starting to notice a pattern, Adam.
Yeah,
from our picking of movies. Stuff. Yeah, so he did Three Musketeers, First Blood, this Wolf Kroger. I mean, he did a beautiful job designing this. But when I talk about movies like Crimson Peak, which I really enjoy, but it's a $60 million gothic romance disguised as a horror film. You have other movies where they have big budgets, but I'm not quite sure who they expected the audience to be, if that makes sense.
Yes. So this felt for me, when you're talking about the audience, I feel like all those fantasy, medieval, barbarian movies that came out for a very specific audience. And that was like boys mainly from the age of like 12 to 18, kind of in that realm. And I felt like this was a movie that those guys could take their girlfriends to.
Yeah. They should have, right? They should have promoted this as a love story.
Yes.
Not
100%.
An action picture. Because, I don't know, they don't even introduce Michelle Pfeiffer until, 40 minutes in.
So, as a 7-8-year-old child watching this for the first time, not knowing what it was just called Ladyhawke. There's this movie called Ladyhawke. You got to watch it. So we sit down to watch it. I distinctly remember when she transformed into Michelle Pfeiffer for the first time, like I was expecting a Conan the Barbarian kind of movie, and what I got was, I'm like, what is going? And it blew my mind. That I was like, wait a minute, that guy's a wolf and that lady's a hawk.
Your expectations weren't tampered by hurt by you had expectations, and when you found out it wasn't what you expected, you loved it. You didn't hate it.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It swerved me, and I was like, "Oh, this is maybe better than it was." I remember thinking it's creative. It's something different.
Yeah. No, and it is. And the score. Donner said he still loves it because people years ago he said he loves it because people still talk about it, which I dig. And hey, remember how I said it was like a 7 the first time I saw it? I thought it was a nice distraction. I was really pleasantly surprised by some of the characters. I ended up really liking Imperius. I thought he had he was just he had a good, I like how that happened, but I read this interesting article by Tor. Mm-hmm. And in the article, the author, she wrote, Ladyhawke was released in 1985 as part of that decade's wonderful fantasy boom. But Ladyhawke doesn't behave like a typical 80s fantasy movie, or a modernized fairy tale, or even a fairy tale subversion, let alone a heroic quest or coming-of-age tale. So it's not like a typical 80s fantasy movie like Conan. It's not a modernized fairy tale like Splash. It's not a fairy tale subversion like Princess Bride. It's not a heroic quest like a Beastmaster, or it's not like a coming-of-age like a Legend or a Labyrinth. No one comes of age. There's no big battles. Which I thought was cool. And also I read something really neat. And it's that she was writing about Michelle Pfeiffer. And if you don't mind me reading this, I just want to, I'll get this.
No, you go for it.
So the author, she wrote, Isabel? Yeah, Isabel has lived essentially alone for 3 years, or to state it more plainly, every night Isabel wakes up naked and alone in a forest, dresses herself, defends herself, and hunts for rabbits for her meals, while tending an enormous horse and keeping an eye on the giant wolf, who is fully a wolf. Remember, and could wander into trouble at any time. She has done this for 3 solid years at the start of the film. So when a real threat comes in, the film gives us a quick fake-out before trampling a particular annoying fairy tale convention. When Caesar first finds Isabeau and Philippe, Caesar is the wolf hunter, played by Alfred Molina.
Definitely not.
She's like, it is the boy who brandishes Navarre's sword, telling the villain, if you lay a hand on her, you'll find it on the ground next to your head, which is amazing.
Yes.
And then she's like, Caesar, however, is not impressed, since Philippe almost collapses from the weight of the sword, and laughs at him before riding on. A second later is Isabeau, who comes charging out on Goliath. She stalks Caesar through the forest, using all the stealth she's learned in her years of isolation to track him. When Navarre's wolf form turns up, growling at Caesar, Isabeau exploits the huntman's moment of distraction to kick him into his own wolf trap. She stands over him and watches him convulse until she's sure he's dead. No pity, no fear, no squeamishness. So I read this article, right? Because I always do a ton of research. As random as we get, I do way too much research. And then I watched it again. I'm like, I love this movie. I really dug it. And
yes.
I thought that was a neat, interesting article that she wrote about this film.
It's a neat perspective on it, that's for sure.
So, I mean, I guess you don't see that much in those days. You do have the squeamishness. You have the guy saving the day. And I found it refreshing that she murdered. Oh, I gotta say one thing. So in the very beginning, Matthew Broderick escapes from a prison that no one ever has escaped from. Philippe is played by Matthew Broderick.
Because nothing is impossible, Mouse. Nothing is impossible.
I love it. And they call him Mouse because he steals everything. He's a pickpocket and he's tiny. And I like that he's constantly talking to God, which I enjoyed. But I gotta tell you, when this distracted me the first time we watched it. In the movie, he sneaks past 2 apple-eating guards who aren't guarding anything. They're just chatting and laughing. And it got me thinking that that's you and me. If we were guards together, we would have to be separated.
Yeah, no, we would guard nothing. I want us to be cast as those guards in the Kurt Russell gritty remake of this movie.
I would love it because we would just. All right, so we're in the medieval ages, so you and I would probably be talking about the performers that we saw the night before putting on a stage adaptation of the Iliad. I don't know, whatever.
Exactly.
So you and I are just kind of talking about it. We're breaking down the moments. We're not overly critical. We're just kind of riffing on the themes on all that kind of stuff. We're not particularly bawdy. We're just more about chatting and like eating apples obnoxiously. Like these 2 guys are eating apples horribly. So I wouldn't put up with that. But if we worked for the horrible man who sold his soul to Satan, the John Wood, the bishop.
Yeah, the bishop.
So if we worked for him, I would work with you for a day, and then I would go to the prison guard and be like, hey, dude's great. Can I get positioned over to the other side because the sun's in my eye, blah, 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 blah. So you would get mad at me, but if we messed up, we'd die. So I think it would be uncomfortable for a while. She's like, dude, man, you're not talking to me anymore. But I would do it so we lived. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, because we don't want to die. I thought one of the coolest things. You're not wrong. I would sneak over there, like Mark, did you see when they did? Did you see what they did at the play last night? And you're like, dude, get out of here. I'm like, but it was Gilgamesh. They did, and you're like, I saw it. Go.
The costumes were great, man.
Right? We would commit to it.
And while you snuck over, someone would escape from prison.
Right. They would. 100%. And they would go and they would find a man with a short sword and then a really big sword and a double crossbow.
That crossbow was amazing, by the way.
Right? As a kid, I was like, and he flipped. I just thought it was the coolest thing.
And the free running. So Matthew Broderick escapes. Philippe escapes, and he goes and he starts bragging. I love the thing when he goes, a drink of your most expensive, bartender, and the bartender goes, yeah, right, which I thought was funny. And then he wants to toast everybody, but turns out the guards are there to get him. And Matthew Broderick starts free running. He is under, up, over, on, ducking, dipping, dodging, diving, dipping.
So was this pre Ferris Bueller?
Mm-hmm. Post-war games, pre Ferris Bueller.
So he was still kind of figuring out what he was going to be as an actor.
Yeah.
Right? And lots of guys got typecast in these kind of roles. Like Schwarzenegger for a while was typecast as like the barbarian, right?
Yep.
So he might have been, I don't know. I just think he was trying to figure out what he was doing. So I don't think anything was off the table for him. He just seemed really boldly acting in this movie.
I mean, he made decisions.
And it's an interesting part because he's not the leading man, but he has every scene with the leading lady till the very end shot.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
they're dancing.
I can't think of another movie where the leading man and the leading lady are never in the same shot together.
Someone brought up a point. They said, so I watched a video by Joe Blow. There's only 2 videos I could find on this movie. Joe Blow was saying it's kind of underrated, and he didn't appreciate that they're kept apart the entire movie. So when they finally get together, you kind of think, well, I have no connection. And then I watched another clip where someone suggested there should have been a flashback where their love, and then, like, Willow, there's a flashback where they they put the baby out. They should have had the 2 of them running away, expressing their love, and then the curse.
Right.
Do you think that would have helped?
Well,
I didn't care. I didn't care.
I didn't see it as a problem.
Yeah.
And I think, with this movie, with the grounded nature of his effects and visuals, I think just telling us there was a curse, our mind shows that first transformation better than Donner could have.
Yeah.
Like I think I've said it before. My favorite thing about a good movie is understanding the rules of the world and like the unspoken history of that world. And so I love this. Like there was this very interesting history that happened with these 2 characters and then the bishop and all these things going on, and just kind of leaving that to my own imagination to fill in the blanks. I love that stuff.
Right. And now you love this movie so much. I also listened to Siskel and Ebert's review. They both gave it thumbs up. Ebert praised the production design. Siskel liked it, but he said he wishes that the humor of Matthew Broderick hadn't been there as much. And then Ebert's like, there's humor back then. Like, they started arguing. And then Siskel's like, oh, you're doing that face. But did you think the humor of Broderick was a little too much in this film?
No, I think it's one of the things that sets it apart from the other fantasy movies at the time, where Donner was like, no, we got to have humor in this movie. Like it's got to hit those notes. And the closest thing to humor most others got was maybe like a one-liner, or like, again, like a movie like The Never-Ending Story, where you put kids in this fantasy world, but the stakes are so high for this kid. He doesn't have time to make, right? Like it's this movie is way more like fantastical, I think, than Never-Ending Story, because it's like the world is collapsing around him in that movie, and there's no time to smile. And this movie, Matthew Broderick, because he's a teenager, because he's hanging out with the most beautiful woman he's ever seen in his life, he has time to smile, even though he's running from the law, like he's running for his life. It's almost like he's not aware of how big the quest he's on for a while.
No, that's interesting, because he doesn't realize he's on a quest until about 51 minutes in.
Right. Well, exactly.
And that's another interesting angle to it.
Yeah. No, and they don't see Rutger Hauer for the first 15 minutes. Like, Donner takes his time with this movie, milking it.
I think he just loved the world, because he went back to it with Timeline, which I need to watch again, because they say trebuchet a lot, and I like that. But I think he enjoyed. I also think the introduction of the characters is very smart. So you immediately learn that we have a thief, right? Like, we have a thief who's played by Matthew Broderick, who's good at escaping places, and everyone knows him in the castle. So, hey, he's good. Then we know that he's notorious because everyone wants that. And then we also know that the bad guy is a bad guy. Like, that dude is... How many collars does he wear?
It's a lot of collars, bro.
6.
It's a lot. It's a lot of collars.
Would you wear 6 collars?
No. It's rare to find me wearing one collar.
And oddly enough, we have talked about wearing 3 collars.
Yeah, 3 turtlenecks.
Everything's coming back here, man.
No, this is not by chance. This is happening.
But I also like his speech when Matthew Broderick tells Hauer, there are strange forces at work in your life, magical ones that surround you. I don't understand them, but they frighten me. You have given me my life. The truth is, I can never repay you. I have no honor, and never will have. I don't think you would kill me for being what I am. But better that than return to Aquila. The bishop is so right, Aquila. I was gonna spell that out phonetically before I got into this, and I forgot to. But that's a good speech too.
No, 100%. 100% is a great speech. There's good stuff in here. I love that Navarre used to be the chief of the guards, and
they still kind of like him a little. They respect him.
Yeah, there's still, like, when a push comes to shove, like, we like you better than our current captain, is the drive I'm getting.
Yeah, we can't take you back, and you wouldn't come back, but we miss you.
Yeah. When you said you love that Mouse talks to God all the time, I love the quote where he